Hey guys, it's Tay and welcome back to TYH Beauty. So in this video I'll be doing a new set. So I always start off with pushing back the cuticles. It's not a necessary step, but that's just what I like to do. Okay, since we are doing a new set, we have to prep the nails. So a new set includes tips, acrylic, gel, and then we're going to do some nail art. So first you have to buff the surface of the nails, and I'm using a 180 sanding band with my nail drill. And so buffing the nails literally means just taking off that natural oil that the nails have. You don't want to go too hard with the file because you don't want to damage the nail, so you're literally just lightly buffing the surface. When you're doing a new set, it's very important, or not even just a new set, if you're doing a refill, that when you are buffing the surface of the nails, that you are making sure that you're getting rid of that dead skin around the cuticle area, because that is a way that the nails could lift or possibly break faster, and you don't want to send your clients home with the potential to break or lift up their nail. Before I apply the tips, I'm actually going to cut down the nails because I personally don't like when you can see natural nails underneath acrylic nails. So especially because it's a new set, why not start off short and eventually they're going to grow out. Okay, so now it's time to apply your gripples. Sag nail. It's a time to apply your nail tips. So the important thing with applying nail tips, you want to make sure that you are using the correct size, because if you are going to use a smaller tip, that is a chance that your nail could pop or it can hurt your client nails. So the important thing is to measure a nail tip a size bigger and a size smaller, or actually just measure it the correct size. So when you press down, you don't want to force it on, because if you have to force it, that means it's too small. So it's always better to go with a bigger tip, because you can always file the sides down, or you can clip the sides down, but it's always faster to just file. So typically the pinky nail is like a 9 or 10. The index, the middle, and the ring finger, they go between like a 5, 4, and 6, and then the thumb is normally like a 0 or a 1, depending on the size of the person's nail bed. So it's very important to kind of know the sizes of nail tips beforehand, because that's a way of speeding up your process in doing nails. So I'm a beginner, and knowing the size of people's nails tips really didn't take that long to master out, because the more you do it, the more you get better at it. Bigger numbers are actually the smaller fingers, so like the pinky and the ring finger, and so they typically run between a 10, 9, or 8, and then the middle ring and pointer finger can go between a 4, 5, and 6, and then the thumb is typically like a 0, 1, or 2. So you just have to play around. You know, everybody's nail shape is different. Everybody's nail bed is different. So the faster you learn the tip size, the easier it'll be. So right here, I'm just cutting down the length of the tip just to make sure that she'll be able to go on about her life, because she is a little hard on her nails, but she has a daughter. So I just wanted to make sure that they're not too long, but she said she can keep them long, so that's what we're going to go for. The grippers. Everybody loves the grippers. And we are doing a coffin shape now, with the pinky nail being an almond shape. So when you are doing the coffin shape, you want to cut the sides of the tip off first, because it'll be faster than filing it the whole way. So same thing with the almond shape with the pinky. You just cut the sides off, and it's all about how you angle the file on how you're going to get your shape. Clear tips, because when you apply acrylic, it just makes it look more eloquent, and you know, it kind of goes with the design that I'm creating, because I did like a negative space on the pinky. So clear tips is the way to go. I ordered these off of Amazon. If I can find the link, I could possibly leave it in the comment section if you want it. I mean, not the comment section, the description box. So if you want it, how about you comment below and I'll let you know. Okay, so since we are doing the coffin shape or ballerina shape, you want to make sure that you are putting your client's hand straight, and then you want to angle your file at 45 degrees, and then you want to push the file inwards so that it can give that straight line. And then as far as the edge, you want to do a 90-degree straight up and down so that it can be as straight as possible. And as far as the pinky nail, which was an almond, you do the same thing. You do a 45-degree angle, but you just round off the edge instead of doing it straight. So an important step while filing the nails is to make sure that you are filing them evenly on both sides. So as many times as you file on one side, you want to file the same amount of times on the opposite side, just because you don't want one side to be skinnier than the other. prime and dehydrate your nails so that you can start the acrylic process. And this is actually my best friend who's getting her nails done. So if you see her on her phone ordering food, it's because we're greedy and we're hungry. So in between doing her nails, we take food breaks. So I don't do this with all my clients, just people that I personally know. So that's what you'll be seeing her. We got some Boston Market. So before I apply the acrylic, I like to dehydrate. So I use the Odyssey. I got this a while ago when I was actually in cosmetology school. So it still works. But the dehydrator just basically makes sure that it gets rid of like any nail oils, and to make sure that it's like a pre-prime step. It just basically helps the acrylic stick to the nail bed without lifting. And then after I dehydrate, I prime. So this is the primer from Miss You. I found this guy on Instagram. He's really popular. Tony Lynn, that's his brand. So I ordered it, and this is when I was doing my own nails because I didn't realize how expensive nail products are. So I need a new primer. I'm thinking about getting the Mia Secret just because I use Mia Secret monomer and polymer. So why not complete the whole set and just use the whole beginning to end? Okay, so now I'm going to start the acrylic overlay process. So I am using the Mia Secret monomer and then the Mia Secrets polymer, and it's actually in a Miss You container, but I just use the same container. It's from when I was doing my own nails at first before I started taking clients. So I am a beginner at doing nails still. I mean, I've been doing them for a little while, but I still would consider myself as a beginner. So I really don't know how to measure out acrylic powder to monomer ratio. I kind of just try to pick up a bead size, whereas I can like fill up the whole bead. But I always like to start in the middle where the nail tip and the natural nail meets, so that it can give it some strength to the nail. So I start my bead there, and then I work upwards, and so I go towards the cuticle without flooding the cuticle, and then I do the tip area, and then I go back over again to the apex area, and I basically just build up the nail, look at it at all kind of angles, and try to make them all even as possible. And so nowadays, you know, the new thing is to have thin nails, but you also want to make sure you're going to have a strong nail. So you can have a strong, thin nail without it breaking. So the important thing is to just make sure that that apex area is thick enough where it's not going to break. So best thing I could say is look at the nail at all angles and make sure that they're even. So it's always going to be like a little thicker and thinner towards the tip. So I don't know how to explain this. So because I am kind of a beginner, the best thing I can say is practice doing bead sides on a paper towel, because that will help with trying to figure out how much acrylic you should be picking up for each nail. I typically don't try to do a whole one ball method just because I know that I don't know how to do that. So it doesn't really matter how many beads you use to obtain the nail shape and the nail thickness. It just matters that you're building it up enough, basically. That's the best I can explain it. So if you need to do 3 balls, 4 balls, 5 balls, just make sure that you're applying the acrylic smoothly, because that's the best thing, because it'll be less filing that you'll have to do, and it'll speed up the process. So what I can say from my experience from doing nails, and even in this set, I kind of like flood my brush too much with the monomer. So the best thing to do is to make sure that you're draining your brush, because if you don't drain your brush, you're going to have a lot of acrylic buildup. So I kind of did a mess up towards the end because my brush just kept getting acrylic stuck in it. But I love this brush. It's from Alpha Brush, and every time that I have gotten acrylic stuck in my brush, I just sit it in some pure acetone and let it soak, and it's right back to being brand new. Like, the shape doesn't mess up or anything. So this is a Oval Kolinsky number 8. I used to have a 10 or a 12, and I love that one too, and it kind of made the process a little bit faster because it's a bigger shape, but I lost it, so I need to be ordering some more. So the bigger the brush size, the more advanced I would say you are, because you can control the acrylic a little bit better, and it also speeds up your acrylic application process. So for beginners, start off smaller, so a size 8, or if you want even smaller, but I feel like a size 8 brush is the best size to start off with. I watched YouTube videos when I came back into doing nails, because I got my cosmetology license in 2015, and in cosmetology school they don't really teach you too much, but I always was into nails because I was getting my nails done since I was 10. And so before I went to cosmetology school, I would buy acrylic sets from Walmart and practice it on my own, but I didn't realize that like the application process is an important step. So as far as like smoothness, and then didn't have the nail drill, so then I was just like, I'm over it. And then when I went to cosmetology school, I got reintroduced into doing nails because well, if you don't know, in cosmetology school you have to do a certain amount of services in order for you to complete. So I always would enjoy getting the nail services because nobody else wanted to do them. So that was kind of a way of me practicing and getting better with my acrylic overlay application. And then just by being overcharged and getting infections and then popping off my nails at the nail salon, I started doing my own nails again. And then I started doing my family members, and then I started taking clients. So it's like whatever you want to do, you have to have the passion for it, and you have to practice. Okay, so majority of the time I like to start a nail by picking up a bead and placing it where the tip and the nail meets, and then I brush down the acrylic lightly. So you don't want to apply too much pressure because that will basically be taking all the acrylic off. So then I apply another bead closer towards the cuticle and brush the acrylic towards the tip. And so then I take another bead and get it as close to the cuticle without the acrylic running over onto the skin. So if you get acrylic on the skin, that's a way that the nail could lift. So you want to try to avoid that as much as possible. And so then you just start to build up the apex and drag the acrylic down to the tip. So that's where you get the strength. The apex is basically where the tip is glued on, and then I apply another bead, just making sure that acrylic is as smooth as possible, and also making sure that we're closing up that cuticle. And then this last bead is basically just for strength. process of the second hand. But this is where I start noticing that I was flooding my brush with too much monomer, because it took me more beads to complete one nail, and that was because it was acrylic stuck in the brush. So the best advice I can give is take your time with picking up your beads and draining your brush, because it'll just slow you down and it can also damage your brush. So everything is a learning experience, and you can tell that I was also maybe doing too much pressure, because it's a lot of acrylic on that paper towel. So you don't want to be wasting your products, because products cost money. So on this thumb, this is where I really was struggling, because I had to pick up so many little small beads. But the finished product was amazing. So, you learn and you move forward. So this is my best friend getting excited because she got some nails and they're long and they're beautiful. Everybody loves when you get a new set, fresh set. Like, how can you not love it? And so before you start filing your nails, you want to make sure that they're dry. So because I was kind of flooding my brush with monomer, you have to double tap the nails and make sure it's like a clicking sound before you start filing. Because if you start filing on a wet nail, it's just going to be taking off the acrylic, and you're going to have to go back in and apply more acrylic. Then you have to wait all over again and let it dry. So by the time you finish one hand of the application process, the other hand should be dry. So I'm just going to start off by using an extra fine nail drill bit, and this is Pana, I believe. I ordered it off of Amazon. And this is where you're going to seal the cuticle. So it's important to seal the cuticle, because this is where your nails will last. So if you don't file and seal the cuticles very well, this is where oils and waters can get in the nail and lift up your nail and break the nail, and that's not cute, shorty. So seal that cuticle. This is, I don't know if this is not a safety bit, because it's a flat top. So you want to be very careful with going around the cuticle, because you don't want to cut your client. But this is an extra fine drill bit, so I'm pretty sure it's not going to cut you, because I've definitely ran it over my skin before and it didn't cut me. So you just want to start on one side and you want to go around, making sure that you're picking up the drill, because you don't want to burn. So if you are constantly going over the nail without picking it up, it will create friction, and that will give you that burning sensation. While you're sealing the cuticle, it's also important to make sure that you're going across the nail, the full nail, horizontal and vertically, because this is where it helps shape the nail. So you can do less filing with a hand file, and it also makes sure that the nail will be smooth. So when using the nail drill, you want to make sure that you're using light pressure, because you don't want to damage your client's nails and you don't want to cut or burn your client. So the best advice I can give you is, number one, definitely practicing on yourself. So when you're practicing on yourself, you're definitely going to probably end up cutting and burning yourself, but it's better off doing it to yourself than your clients, your paying clients, because you can always get sued, and that's what you don't want to get. So practice on yourself, and then, or first start off with the practice finger or practice hand, and then move to yourself, and then move on to maybe family members, friends, and then paying clients. Like, you don't want to charge people before you know what you're doing. So with anything in the cosmetology world, you're definitely going to be giving out free services first. So practice makes perfect. So start off with safety nail drill bits. So the safety nail drill bits have rounded tops so that it won't cut your client, and then move towards the flat tops because they are a little bit more advanced, I would say. So that's the best advice I can give about nail drills. And you don't have to use a nail drill. So if you get really good with your acrylic application, and then all you would have to do is just file with your hand file. So I'm trying to get better with my application so that I won't have to file so much, but I'm such a perfectionist. I feel like I'm going to file with the nail drill and the hand file either way. So the second hand is sped up, and it looks like that I'm filing off a lot of acrylic, but I'm really not, because this is an extra fine drill bit. So the important thing with closing up that cuticle is to make sure that it's flush with the natural nail bed, because you want to make it look like while it's growing out, it's the natural, basically it's going to match up with the natural nail, so that the grow out process isn't ugly. I don't really know how to explain stuff. Maybe I'll figure out in the future, but just file and look at every angle and make sure not to file off too much around that cuticle area, because you don't want to start cutting the nail and creating those lines, and that's basically damaging the nail. So I'm going back in with the sanding band just to further close up that cuticle, and then also kind of shape the nail and then smooth the nail. So I possibly could have done all of this with the first file, but something about the sanding band that just makes it so much smoother. the sanding band from the beginning and just use a little bit more pressure. So that's a tip I wanted to share, or that's something that I wanted to share that I picked up, because since it's paper, it's less abrasive than the metal drill bit. So in the future, I might just use the sanding band to close up the cuticle in the future, just because I realized that it basically took more time. So after you do all your filing, you want to move to some more filing. Basically use the hand file to perfect your shape, and you don't really have to go so extensive with it because you already did that. So also you could use the sanding band to create that perfect shape too. But like I said, I'm a beginner and I learned from watching my videos, and I bring each little tip that I learned onto my next client. So before you polish, you want to buff the surface of the nails again, because with the nail drill, they can leave scratches on the nails, and you don't want that to appear through your polish. So this is a misused sponge buffer. I believe it's like 100 grit, or 180 grit, I believe, and it just smooths out the nail. So after all that filing, I like to wipe down my workstation just because I don't need any more messiness in my life. So I just wipe everything down with alcohol. And right here, you can either tell your client to go wash their hand, but because I don't feel like doing all that up and down, I just use alcohol with a cotton round or ball and get the extra dust off before I polish the nails. So because she has acrylic full set, you don't have to do a base because it's acrylic. Only time you do a base is on natural nails. Alright, so right here, she basically lets me do what I do. I always know that her favorite color is red, so that's what we went with, and it's a Deedzing gel polish. And I was trying to pick between gold and rose gold, so we went with the rose gold flakes and like a rose gold bronzy striping tape. I kind of came up with this on the spot. Like, I knew I wanted to do half nails, and I knew I wanted to do something different with that almond shaped nail, so I just did like a negative space outline, and then 2 full polishes on 2 nails. So in my nail services, they all include gel polishes, and then I also do a special where you get 4 nail designs or nail art. I love using D&Z polishes just because they're not too thick. They're easy to clean up, so I always have like pure acetone and damping dish just to clean up around the cuticles or if I make a mistake. And I love the fact that they come with regular nail lacquer and then gel polish, so you kind of get more for your money. I'll leave everything that I use in the description box, and I'll post where I get my D&Z polishes. But if anybody knows where you can get some polishes for a little low, you can definitely let your girl know. Polishes, you should do 2 coats, but you don't necessarily have to because that's how opaque they are. And then also you don't have to use a base coat on acrylic just because it's acrylic. If you were using natural nails, like when I do my gel manicures, I use the same D&Z base and top coat. So I always try to use the same brand all in one with polishes just because sometimes they don't always mix and match. So this is the negative space nail that I was telling you about on the almond shape, and I'm using this long striping brush. I don't know where I got it from. Most likely Amazon. You know, Amazon is the best thing for everything. You get it fast and slow. It's come from China or wherever the warehouse is in America. But like I said earlier, D&D polishes, like if you mess up, they wipe off really easily and they don't stain. So it was something on my brush when I was trying to clean up the space. So I just simply wiped the whole thing off and started over, and it wasn't too difficult. So practice makes perfect when you're doing nail designs. So with doing the negative space, you want to make sure that each side is even, so that's why I wiped it off and restarted. But yeah, this nail design is really pretty and it's not too difficult. So the pinky nail, which is the almond shape, is the negative space, and then the 2 fingers, so the ring finger and the middle finger, are half nail, and then the thumb and the, I guess that's the index finger, are full polish, but the index finger has the rose gold flakes, and I kind of did like an ombre, so just the tip up to like halfway, and then on the 2 half nails, that's where I placed the striping tape. So one has 2 lines, and then one nail has 1 line of the striping tape. Okay, so I did 2 coats of the D&D gel polish. I will place the name of it down in the description box. So you don't want to do the top coat before you do the nail art. So I'm using this silicone brush. Got it off of Amazon or AliExpress, one of the two. And I broke up some of the gold flakes just to give it the ombre illusion. And so some of the pieces are small and then some of the pieces are chunkier. And this helped make the flakes stick on. And then with the striping tape, it can be very difficult. So you want to make sure that you measure it out properly, and then you want to make sure that the edges aren't hanging off, because if the edges are hanging off, the striping tape will come up. Set was that I should have used my Mia Secret hard builder gel first, so that it would give the striping tape something to stick onto better. So with every set, I always learn something new, so that might be a quick little tip for you. So what I did at first was measure the 2 strips, and then I used the builder gel to to make the strips stick, and then I cured it. And then afterwards, I use the top coat, but in the future, I'm going to use the builder gel first and then apply the strips, just because they were constantly lifting up and it was just taking so much more extra time. So that might be something that you want to do. Striping tape, it is very important to make sure that you are measuring the sides evenly, because you don't want them to lift off. So it's best to actually measure them a little bit shorter than the full length, because if they're hanging off, they're not going to last. So right here, I'm just using that Mia Secret builder gel and kind of laying a thick little layer of it, just so that it can ensure that it's not going to move. So I kind of did like a flash cure, and then I did the top coat. the end top coat. So because I was lazy and I didn't really feel like wiping off that sticky layer that the D&D polish gel top coat, I used Born This Way No Wipe. Not Born This Way. That's makeup. Born Pretty No Wipe top coat, and then I did an extra layer with I believe it's the Bio Seaweed top coat, and it's a no wipe as well. So I just want to give it a little extra oomph just to make sure that those striping tapes won't come off. Show those cuticles some love. Give it some vitamin E oil. And then I also lotion up those hands because you know you can't have ashy hands in your picture. And when I just filed those sides, that was just to make sure that nothing is hanging off, because those striping tapes was like really irritating my soul, but they were cute, so you know you have to do what you gotta do. And yeah, I guess I didn't finish doing the top coat on this side, so this is the second coat of the bio seaweed top coat. And then I cured it and gave her some little hand love, and then it was a photo op, and then the full finished results will be at the very end. It's just a little slow promo video of, well, not a promo, a nail shot basically, you know?